Hi, I'm Jim Jordan. I'm the Health and Wellness Director of the Oregon Energy Healing Center. And today I'm very excited to have a conversation with Michelle Rae Woodward. Michelle and I met. Hello, Michelle.
Hello.
We met was it about 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, time flies.
Michelle came down from the Seattle area to visit a friend and I think, one of your mentors is living down here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you, Michelle, because you have a unique background in that you have a lot of experience in energy healing. Michelle is a spiritual coach, a certified hypnotherapist, and an intuitive guide. Right. So, how long have you been doing all this work now? What's been your background? Go into a little more detail.
Sure. Well, professionally, I've been offering these services for 21 years now. It's
Okay.
like,
Well,
wow,
that's a
it's
long
kind of a
time.
mind bender.
Yeah.
Um, but I got started years ago out of a healing crisis that I was going through. I wasn't well. The Western paradigm couldn't do anything for me. They basically told me I was a little nuts and I'd have to be on medication my whole life. And I was like, no, that's not gonna, I'm not taking that.
Right.
And I searched far and wide, and this was when we had very few health food stores. There was no internet, and I had to kind of figure it out on my own. And I found this book, and it was a doctor in West LA that had cured fibromyalgia. You know, people were living symptom free. And so I went to him and he helped me. And then within 3 months, by doing like elimination diets, really cleaning up my physical self and learning to eat healthier,
Mhm.
I got significantly better, but there was still something lingering. And I asked him if he could refer me to someone because
Uh,
traditional therapy had done nothing for me. I wasn't totally well physically, but on my way, I just knew there had to be something else. And he told me about his colleague, Dory Lynn Ray, my mentor in Ashland,
Lori
who
Lynn,
had
I met her.
created.
Yeah.
Yep, that's when I met her. And he referred
Okay.
me to her and said she had just created this body of work and was having tremendous results and that it sounded like something I'd like. I
Right.
went to see her, and that was my first experience with energy medicine. And within an hour, I felt so much better. And after a few sessions, this lingering just gnaw that I would constantly be dealing with on a daily basis was gone. And I was so curious, and I asked her what she was doing, and she kind of explained it to me. And I offered to support her in helping her kind of bring her workshop and her work into a form that she could present and share.
Right.
And that's when my whole world opened up because I learned about frequency and vibration and vibrational healing. She turned me on to Richard Gerber, who wrote a book years ago called Vibrational Healing. And that was back in the day when you get Sounds True,
Right.
disc sets.
Right. I remember that. Right.
Yeah, so I remember being on this drive and listening to these tapes. That was when we had tapes in our
Thanks.
car.
Right.
Like,
The sets.
and I remember him talking about kind of, I don't know if you use these words, but everything is energy.
Yeah.
And it hit me, and everything just made sense.
Right.
I could see it. And for years, so I'm born a psychic intuitive empath. So I've always felt, known, could see more than my friends or family. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize that until I realized it at age 3.
Mhm.
So I would see something, I'd said some things to my neighbor, and my mom was like, don't say those things. And the neighborhood gave me the
Yeah.
nickname CIA at age
You
3.
see things that nobody else could see.
Yeah, and I knew things that no
Yeah.
one I shouldn't know because I'm a 3-year-old little kid just wandering the neighborhood, talking to people about the issues in their lives and their families.
So this was your natural inclination. It sounds like this was, whereas a lot of people in the healing center we have with the EE system, for a lot of us, it's a relatively new thing to be exposed to energy healing. And at times
Yeah.
it's a bit like mystifying, like, how does this work? And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today is that your background is very in depth, and mine, as my clients know, my members know, is more in nutrition and biology. So I
Yeah.
have my explanation of how things work, and I think that's reasonable. But I would like to get your take. First of all, what was your experience with the Energy Enhancement System? When did you go to one in Seattle or in Bothell, right?
In
Bothell?
Bothell, which is like East Seattle. It's on the other side
Yeah.
of the lake.
Okay. So what
Yeah,
was
and
the, yeah.
yeah, it's called Vitality Lounge. And I had heard about it because for the past 15, 20 years, I've been looking at technology and scalar, tachyon, all these different 0 point field things that have been coming out and just experimenting, trying to find because I know that something was on its way. And
Right.
so when my friend who knows I've been searching said, "Hey, you got to check this out," I went, I felt, and I was like, oh, because, even people who aren't in tune with energy can feel it when
Yes.
you get in that field in your center. And so I knew, oh, this is good. And I could feel my cells vibrating and filling, like
Right.
the tank, that battery explanation. I could
Right.
feel things coming back online. But another thing that I experienced on my first session was otherworldly. So my mother, who had passed in 2012,
Mm-hmm.
showed up just right there in the room beside me. And
Visibly
just,
showed up for you, or in what way showed?
yeah,
Energetically, subtly.
energetically. I mean,
Right.
she's no longer informed, but she
Right.
was there and she was
Right.
talking to me
Right.
and, said some beautiful things that
Mhm.
acknowledged me that I hadn't heard in her lifetime, which I thought this is unusual,
Right.
right? And so it's one of those experiences that I was able to completely leave
Hmm.
the noisy beta world that I live in most of the
Hmm.
time, like we all do,
Hmm.
and drop into this field where unexpected goodness could show up.
Right.
And it was amazing. When I left there, I felt more alert and awake and
Hmm.
alive. And I had also had this chronic skin issue. And this was the thing that blew me away the most. Because
Hmm.
again, going on through life, I no longer deal with the fibromyalgia stuff so much, but
Hmm.
I started having this skin issue.
Hmm.
Again, Western medicine couldn't help me. I've tried, medical medium protocols. Things just weren't moving it. I went to one session, and after that session, that rash had noticeably diminished by at least
Right.
like 60%. And I was with a friend and she knows and she was like, "Whoa." So I continued to go until it would go away.
So let me ask you this. So a lot of people that are going to watch this, hopefully will watch this, will ask, and I've asked this myself, how is it that sitting in a room with these computers and monitors running different colors and frequencies, how is it that that can get a biological shift significant enough for you to have your skin clear up when all the things you're doing in the world of, let's say, either medicine or functional medicine or nutrition, we're not doing that. So in your words, what is the mechanism or how does that work?
Well, the way I see it is that we are all connected. There is no other. It's one system, and everything is influenced by the vibrational field, the frequency of that space.
Hmm.
And the body has a natural program to heal. It is constantly moving toward a healing balanced state.
Right.
But we introduce these other things that are dominant, like stress,
Mhm.
poor diet, toxins, different patterns of thinking, things that keep us out of that healing state.
Hmm.
But when you put yourself in a dominant field of energy, just like, if anyone's interested in fields of energy, look into Rupert Sheldrake. He
Right.
explains it so well.
Yeah.
But so we move into this field of energy, and as a human body system, we're inclined to heal, and we also are inclined to entrain to
Hmm.
whatever is the most dominant vibration in our space. So,
Hmm.
meaning if we're in a low voltage disease state,
Hmm.
but we put ourselves in this high voltage healing state,
Hmm.
No matter how diseased we are, we're going to raise because we have emotions. And we, by that nature of our experience,
Hmm.
we are unstable. It
Hmm.
just, you can't hold it together.
Right.
But the program inside an EES center is stable and it's dominant and it's high frequency healing.
Exactly.
So we're naturally going to entrain to that higher space. And in that higher space, all those things that kept us at the lower can exist. And so for that period of time, the body gets to do what it's brilliant at, which is heal.
I get it. So in other words, that's a great explanation. So it's really it's a general it's not specific, obviously, and I've known this too, it's not specific for any condition, but it's raising your rate, your energetic field raises to match the field in the room. And from that state, where the cell voltage is higher, the nervous system is more balanced, that your natural healing process takes over. And whether it's a skin condition, a nervous system condition, an injury, either whatever it is, your body has a greater capacity to heal just by being in that space. Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes. And it impacts the emotional space too, because I've seen people get into forgiveness when they have not forgiven for years. But they go to
Exactly.
the center and they come out and they're like,
Yeah.
I'm not mad at my brother in law anymore.
Yeah, I have a lot of people say to me the number one benefit they get is that they're just happier. Their sort of low level depression or anxiety is less, and all of a sudden they feel happier. I would say my number one testimonial would be when I started to come across the East System about almost 2 years ago, was that I felt more like myself. I said,
Yeah.
wow, I feel more like when I remember my natural self to be. We've just gone through the COVID stuff, and there's lots of
Yeah.
stress and fear and anger and all kinds of other challenges I had over the last years before that. And all of a sudden, I felt I was going like, I'd say 3 times a week for 2 hours in Sedona. And I felt just more like myself that I'd been when I was much younger, like more at peace with myself, more confident. And that was the shift that took place for me. And then I'm hearing similar things from people that don't have a specific health condition, but they just feel like out of sorts and out of balance and upset with life. They're just less upset. And is that's consistent with what your interpretation would be, what's happened, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Because what happens is that, and I'm doing a little webinar on this in May, but in life, we deal with our outside, right? We clean
Yeah,
our house, we do spring cleaning, we do all this stuff externally,
right.
but internally, we are so cluttered. And, clutter creates disorganization, and disorganization prohibits movement and evolution, and it reduces our effectiveness.
Right.
And over time, that's going to impact our beliefs about ourselves, our identity.
Mm.
And when you talk about that sense of feeling more like yourself, what the scalar energy does is it reorganizes that space in us. It really creates order out of this chaos or clutter that we've accumulated. Because I don't know if you know, but this 21st century lifestyle is not healthy.
It's not healthy, that's for sure. Whether it's with the EMFs or the constant fear propaganda coming at us, or the toxins in the environment, or the difficulties in making it as a single parent, if you're that. But there's just endless challenges. So right. So my take on this too is that the E system is it's not just for if you have a specific health condition. It's sort of it helps you to support you to deal with life. So
Absolutely.
so given that, and that a lot of people are getting benefit from that, what is it from your perspective that people can do to take that benefit they're getting from the sort of reorganization around a more peaceful, stable state? What can they do outside of the EE sessions to maintain that or to continue that going? So people come in sometimes once a week, sometimes people come in twice a week, but often it's usually it's an average, I'd say it's about once a week. So what can people do from your perspective to continue that stabilization process?
It's an excellent question. And I could answer that for like days. So we'll just pick something and go because
Yeah,
there's so many possibilities.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like to look at everything, right? Everything is energy. And if I'm looking at my own human experience, I'll break it down into a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual space.
Yeah.
And then I'll look at my own life, like what's calling me, which one could use some attention.
Hmm.
And so then I'd be like, okay, we give a lot of time to our physical, especially when we have some sort of injury or some disease that is requiring our attention.
Hmm.
We've given a lot of time to the mental. I mean, there's therapy and all this, lots of books you can read about your mental scape and how to get things, mindfulness. And
Right.
then, spirituality. A lot of people, especially in your area, are on, they have some connection to a spirituality that speaks to them,
Hmm.
but the emotional space.
Hmm.
This is one that people are terrified of. So that's usually where I go because I find that I get more bang for my buck diving into my emotional space and looking at, okay, what can I do, with alchemy to transform what's wanting my attention emotionally?
So
Because
what are
again,
some examples of things people can do with that emotional space to I guess the word would be from my perspective is to sort of stabilize that or harmonize that with a higher frequency from
absolutely. So after you identify that that's the place you want to go to, think about like what's rubbing you, what's either got you sad or angry. Because
Mhm.
we like the joy spaces, but the ones where we go down where maybe we're blaming
Yeah.
something in life, or, we can look at a lot of what the fear is on the planet right now, and we can go to like, what position am I in? Who's right and who's wrong? And pick something from there
Yeah.
and be honest with yourself. Like, I'm a big fan of lists. I always have a notebook with me because
Okay.
writing it down helps make it more real. And so I'll start writing lists of what's on my mind, like what's in my heart, what's got me. And
Oh.
then I'll be like, okay, so it's this. And
Hmm.
then when I look at that, I'm like, okay, is that really it, or is there something underneath it? 'Cause sometimes I'll be like, oh, it's about the dishes, but it's
Yeah.
really not about the dishes, right? There's
Yeah.
something underneath it. And then I'll go, oh, I'm feeling helpless.
Yeah.
Like there's all this suffering happening in the world right now, and I feel helpless. I can be pissed off about it, but anger is really never the issue. It's always what's underneath the anger. And
Exactly.
so I go to helpless. And then I give myself the space to be with the helplessness. A simple process that anyone can do is be with that emotion for 90 seconds. So
Mhm.
most of us always have our phones nearby, right?
Yeah.
So set your timer for 90 seconds and just sit without judgment, without trying to fix nothing. Just be with the feeling of helplessness.
Mhm.
And you sit there and it's amazing because we're terrified to do it because we think we're going to get stuck in it or we're going to go a little nuts or it's just going to make it worse. But you bring, like, I always like to bring my higher self into these moments because I don't want to be out there doing this alone.
Mhm.
And I always set my intention that it is to clear it, for this feeling to transform. And then I sit and I just notice, like, I'm the observer
Yeah.
of this feeling. And by 90 seconds, it's no longer helplessness, it's transformed on its own.
So there's nothing specific to do. I get that. I mean, this is similar to some things I've studied too. So basically, it's being with the being honest first. First of all, being honest with yourself. What is the emotion that's driving our reactivity or behavior? And then sitting with that emotion for 90 seconds, being with it without judging, and then let it sort of on its own transform into whatever is probably underneath helplessness to some degree. My sense of it is that there is some understanding or peace or something good, because
Yeah,
my feeling is that beneath all these negative emotions is our true self, which is not, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's definitely spacious and peaceful.
yeah,
That's a great practice that everybody can do on their own. Now, are there other things that you do that are sort of more that are structured or organized through your work that you can that you how you work with people through things you've either written or you do online or you know,
Yeah, absolutely. This is, part of the main focus of my work is around energetic hygiene.
okay.
Because
I
you
do.
think about it, when I got that everything was energy, I started looking around and I could see that we're choosing the energy.
Yeah.
It's a choice. And so, what can we do about that? And I thought, oh my gosh. And this was something that Dory turned me on to. Really, like around the turn of the 20th century, we started washing our hands, right? The doctors learned that if they washed their hands, there was going to be less infections in
Yeah.
the hospital. We
I
started
do.
doing personal hygiene to a whole other level. And then in 1938, dental hygiene became a practice, and
Yeah.
our lives have improved and our longevity has increased. Huh. Well, I assert that it's the 21st century and it's time for energetic hygiene because we are biomagnetic fields of energy and we attract dust and goo and other people's energy. So when I work with someone, I open a field of energy and call in all of their angels, teachers, sponsors, guides, healers, saints, elementals, and non physicals that are working with them. Because
Mhm.
regardless of what your belief system is, there are teams of people supporting us on this journey, and they're just in non-physical form. And
Mhm.
so when that opens, I get a whole picture of what's going on in someone's field, and I can see, oh, they're still, suffering from that, that pool incident that happened in swim team when they were in 12th grade. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, they're eating these foods that are causing food insensitivities, and it's triggering this inflammation response that, or oh, they've got some of their vertebrae out, but they think it's carpal tunnel. Oh, and we start seeing that there's these moments in time, judgments,
Mhm.
beliefs and patterns that we're just automatically running, and we need to update our software.
Mhm.
And so the energetic hygiene comes in like, for instance, that incident that someone happened when they were in a pool in 12th grade.
Mhm.
Well, from that moment, they've been making up judgments and assumptions about their lives and people and the way things are because that was never cleared.
Got it. So how does that happen then? So are you interacting with the person and sort of dialing into their energetic field, what's coming up? Or is that so that's something when you're working with a person either in person or remotely? Is that either way? Is
Yeah, mostly remotely, but I still see people in person. That's one way. The other ways that I offer, I do webinars and things like that. And I'm finishing writing a book right now because I want
yeah.
people to have all sorts of tips and tools. Because if we take ourselves on a daily basis and we wake up with an intention
Mhm.
of how we want our day to go,
Mhm.
and we have these core values that are intrinsic to us that we're aware of, and we live in accordance to those values. We measure the things we say yes and no to in
Mhm.
accordance with those values
Mhm.
and align them with our intentions.
Mhm.
It's going to move us into more flow and
Mhm.
synchronicity and ease and grace. You're going to naturally be at a higher frequency, which
Mhm.
is going to attract to you the people and the places and the situations that are aligned with what you're here to do. So, really teaching people how to establish a daily routine for themselves,
Got it.
not like they have to add in extra hours. We can add intention to things you're already doing, like brushing your teeth.
Yeah,
Why
these are
can't that
just
be?
habits. These are energetic habits, it sounds like. Just like we have
Yes.
physical habits, these and let me ask you this. So is it also, I mean, the way I've tried to look at this is it's almost like what we put our attention on energetically too. Like if I'm watching, I'll say my vice would be I'm watching the news a lot or political things because I want to be informed. But that also it's basically it's based on divisiveness and right, wrong, and there's a lot of anger that's generated often from me. and
Yeah,
then depression too. So I'm exposing myself to this probably more than I need to. I don't need to have that much information. So it sounds like an energetic hygiene habit might be to sort of do that in not too often, like just like you would have a beer or something, not every night,
exactly.
periodically. So an energetic
Yeah,
hygiene,
boundaries.
yeah, yeah, just a little bit here and there. So an energy, in a way, it's like what we expose ourselves to energetically is will affect us. So like when I go to the EE sessions regularly, I start to get more peaceful and relaxed, and I may not watch the news as much for a while. And then I might slip out of that habit and go into like a habit of really diving into things and get upset about things I have no control over. And then I feel worse again. So just establishing those habits or those patterns where you are optimizing your health and wellness, just like nutrition, eating good 90% of the time and once in a while eating off the plan. So is that
Yeah,
accurate?
that is it. And it comes from a bigger paradigm shift of really realizing and claiming that you're a sovereign being
Yeah,
because everything on this planet wants you.
right.
The news people want you, the people who are doing business, the corporations, they want you, they want your dollars, they want to be in your head. They're moving the masses.
Right.
If that's you're okay with that, cool. But there's a lot of people on the planet that don't want that life.
Exactly.
And there's an alternative. And so by positioning yourself as I'm a sovereign being and I'm going to operate the way I want to operate for the sake of good, because most people who feel that way are come with a lot of love and light and want to make this planet a better place. And so when you make that choice, you start to realize that if I just go with the flow, there's no sovereignty. I'm owned. I'm a slave in all of this.
Exactly.
I'm doing for someone else, and
Yeah.
someone else is ruling my mind.
Yeah.
And so absolutely, I mean, talk about, losing your sovereignty, like these phones. There's a
Right.
payoff, right? And a cost. And so one of the things that I highly recommend to people is that they start making their phone work for them.
Yeah.
And when I say that because of like establishing boundaries. If you look on your phone and you see your usage and you see how much time you spend on apps, it's kind
Mhm.
of upsetting and
Mhm.
sobering. And so I
Yeah.
always have my clients do this and I set my own limits
Yeah. Exactly.
because there's times where I don't watch news and it's not because I'm not responsible, but I
Yeah.
understand frequency wise,
Yeah.
the best service I can be to this world, and this is me, everyone gets to choose what's right for them.
Yeah.
But for me, is to bring as much light and love and healing to me as I can, because I can give that through just being and sharing that same thing to others. And every now and then I'll be like, okay, I'm curious what's happening. Around the solar eclipse, I
Mhm.
wanted to see what was happening. So, it told me after 15 minutes, your time's up for today. I was like, okay.
Well, it
So
sounds
you
like just
can,
managing your time and your attention and your what you put your attention on is really the key to energetic. I love that term, energetic hygiene. That
yeah,
And I wish you lived near us here because I'd like you to do maybe a talk in our healing center, but maybe
yeah,
there's a way we can do something remotely with our members, or if you have a program online, I can let people know about it because it's to me, this is exactly what we need. Just like we have nutrition, basic principles of nutrition, exercise, all
yeah.
the lifestyle habits, we need energetic hygiene principles too.
Exactly. And we just haven't been told that this is our birthright, that we
Right.
have these abilities to manage and control our personal energy field.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that we talked about when we connected was that our culture is the only culture in history that has not honored moving energy as the
Hmm.
principal form of healing.
Yeah.
And you look at our country and the sickness and everything, it's just, there's
Yeah.
something a little off. So I feel
There's
like bringing this in really will help people to feel empowered and take more agency over, like you said, where they put their focus and what they choose to do. Because everything we say yes to, we're saying no to something else.
Exactly.
And we just never think of that.
So I think, I mean, to bring this back into the EE experience, EES experience, it seems to me like the energy enhancement system gives you a boost, sort of a big jolt in the direction of more stabilization, peace, harmony. And then it's up to you, up to the person that him or herself to continue that process with their lifestyle habits and energetic hygiene and everything else to stabilize that and build it and grow it. And so
Yes.
the E system just seems to be a major jolt in the direction of healing.
Yes.
That,
Yeah. It's
how would you describe it?
That's it. And I'm sure most people have that experience of when
Yeah,
they've gained a little extra weight and they're trying to lose it. After you lose your first 10 pounds, right?
yeah,
You're just like, I'm on fire. I
yeah,
got this. And
yeah,
you're just more motivated. It's that
yeah.
momentum rather than trying to
Yes,
get the slog, to get it going.
right.
EES really does boost it.
Yeah, it's very passive. You just lie down there, relax, and you come out of there and you feel better. So, but I want
Yeah.
the members to know, our members to know that this is, then you take that and build on it. And some of the things,
Yeah.
if you have, do you have a link to a website link or something I can put in the notes below in the video?
Absolutely. MichelleRaeWoodward.com, and I'll
Okay,
send it to
send
you.
this. Yeah.
They're also welcome. I'm offering a free complimentary webinar May 8th on
Okay.
inner housekeeping,
Okay,
your
that's what we
inner
want.
spring cleaning. And it's all about helping you understand the things that you can do that declutter that internal world.
Exactly. Okay, good. We'll put a link for that program too. If it's on their website, we'll just link to the
Yeah.
website below.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna put this out in a newsletter to our membership, and I think we can have maybe a future conversation down the road.
Absolutely. And I'll be down there. I love that area. So
Okay.
when I'm in town, I'd be happy to
Yeah.
swing by and do something, and we can look at other possibilities. Just one more thing I wanted to add to how to use your
Yeah.
phone,
Yeah.
because whenever we're creating a new habit, there's always the draw to fall back.
Yeah.
So we need
Right.
structures to
Yeah.
help us really build and get into this new way of being. And so I'm a big fan of using the timers, like
Okay.
the alarms on your phone, because you can label the alarm, you
Uh-huh.
can set it for every day of the week,
Right.
and it just reminds you, like, call on unseen help, or make sure you do your practices, or,
Right.
what are you grateful for right now?
That's good.
Just,
That's a good way to use this one. I didn't think about that. I usually have sticky pads all over the place. They're like,
yeah,
remember to do this or that. And I have
yeah,
little yellow pads everywhere. But the phone
yeah,
too, that's a great way to use technology. And it's like the E system too is technology, but we
right?
can use technology to heal ourselves. And we can use technology to sort of get unhooked from technology in a way too.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
yeah,
And
it's
one of the other things I absolutely love about EES centers are the people,
yeah,
because the people that are brought there are amazing. Whatever reason you come there, there's a really beautiful opportunity for community. And
yeah,
that's something that we're so hungry for.
yeah,
And we're hungry for, I mean, you think about the people that come there that experience it, and they're starting to wake up to the reality that everything is energy,
yeah.
and there's more that's happening that they can't see, and they're breaking out of these paradigms and belief systems that they've held for years. And then you've got this open-minded, open-hearted group of people around you cheering you on for you, whatever it is you're wanting, whether it's healing, whether it's evolution. I have there's one guy that goes to the center in Bothell, and he goes twice a week, I think. And he goes because he's been a transcendental meditator
Yeah.
for years, for decades, and nothing has taken him as deep
Yeah.
and as far as he goes when he's at EES. So he goes
Yes.
there to do these deep meditations, and it's just beautiful,
Yeah, we have the same thing happening with people at meditation, and we're starting to develop some community. I can see after sessions, people get to stay together and talk and share and support each other. So you're right. That is really what we want to do. We want to build community and community based on healing and, you know, sort of
Yeah,
coming together as opposed to dividing ourselves. So,
right.
so
Yeah. Oh, I just get
Well,
thrill bumps even when you're saying that because I think that's,
that's
I don't know if an intended or unintended consequence of the technology, but it's
yeah.
beautiful.
It's what we need. So, well, thank you, Michelle,
Yes,
so much. This has been
absolutely.
it's so different than the normal conversations I have, where I just interview someone about their experience. But I really wanted to hear your from your background with energy healing, how to understand this better and other things people can do with these energetic hygiene practices. So I look forward to our next discussion. And when you come down again, just let me know. Give me a little advance notice so I can
Okay.
schedule time to be with you. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And
Thank you.
blessings to you and all your community and your center. Continued success.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay. Have a good day. Bye bye.